Welcome to another episode of Salty's Egg Balls. Today I'm going to be talking about the XFL, Extreme Football League, which is founded by WWE owner Vince McMahon. Just a quick recap about the XFL history. So the XFL first started back in 2001. It only lasted for a season. Didn't do too well, ratings went low, and a lot of people complained saying that the XFL was focused in a wrestling mentality kind of niche instead of an actual football niche. So it didn't last more than a season and the XFL went bust. But now 2020, the XFL is back. Vince McMahon has decided to revamp the league over again, and he's hired Oliver Luck, the father of former Colts quarterback Andrew Luck, who was hired as commissioner for the XFL. So the XFL has implemented a few new rules, which, by the way, I add on the video link down below the description. You know, the rules are a bit. When I first saw the rules, I ain't gonna lie, I was just like, this is not gonna work out. No way it's gonna be working out. I thought, you know, this is gonna be a bit of a flop, but surprisingly, from this weekend's action, I was actually very, very surprised how well it settled in. And I thought to myself, with especially with the punt returns and the kickoffs, the NFL might actually use and implement some of these rules into the NFL, and you know, use it especially when it comes to player safety, for example. So I was actually very, very impressed in that sense. From this weekend's game, I have to say, I liked it. I liked it. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't have high hopes getting to the first game, but I was actually pleasantly surprised about the opening game between the DC Defenders and the Seattle Dragons. You know, it was a very, very entertaining game, end-to-end stuff. DC managing to win that 31-19. Then another game that I really enjoyed watching was the Houston Roughnecks and the LA Wildcats. Really, really interesting game. You know, end-to-end stuff, lots of action, good passes, good defense as well, especially. You know, that game ended 37-17 to the Houston Roughnecks. There's another interesting game as well on that, which I really, really enjoyed, was New York Guardians and the Tampa Bay Vipers. Now, there's a few familiar faces. A lot of previous NFL players obviously make it into this league. Notable, some of the coaches. New York Guardians head coach was, of course, ex-Giants offensive coordinator Kevin Gilbride, who's their head coach. Mark Trestman, former Chicago Bears head coach, and was also in the CFL with the Montreal Alouettes, is the head coach of the Vipers. Matt McGloin, who's a quarterback for New York, and also Marcus King, who's the former punter for the Raiders, is at the St. Louis Battlehawks. And Tamu, of course, was also a backup quarterback for the Houston Texans, who's also at the Battlehawks. So there is a lot of familiar faces in the XFL. And it's interesting to see how this league goes on. In my opinion, I think, you know, if the XFL continues to be pumping money into the league, it will be successful. I wonder how they'll start drafting players. I think there was talk about them trying to enter the college draft. So basically, the college players that couldn't get into the NFL draft, there'll be an XFL draft where they can get drafted into the XFL next year. So that's a lot of good news for a lot of these college players that want to have a future in professional football. I mean, my opinion, I mean, do I think it will last long, the XFL? I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't think it'll be as bad as when it first came out back in 2001. I think there is an improvement, and I know it's only week one, and it's still early days, but I do think there's a golden chance that we can actually have more football after the NFL. I mean, the XFL produces, interesting game planning and rules and stuff, and that will be very, very interesting. Now, it's all about how much money they'll get into the league, and how much funding can get, how much gate receipts they can sell, how much merchandise they can sell. That obviously is going to implement on the amount of players that they might get, so that will help. That will help the league a lot. And of course, they're in big markets. They're in big markets in cities across the US. I mean, I hope it does last. I hope it does last. I mean, it will never ever get on par with the NFL. Never. The NFL is it's a big beast, and it will never get dethroned. But I mean, there is a future. I honestly think there is a good future coming up for the XFL, and I think if they continue playing nice football, getting high scores. You have to remember it's only 8 teams in the league, and there's a chance that it could increase to 9 or 10 next year, depending on how well they do in gate receipts and stuff, and what seat demands another team. So I'm interested. I'm really, really interested how this season will go out. Who do I think is going to win the XFL? That's interesting. From the performance I've evaluated, I'll have to point out there's 2 teams. That's the DC Defenders and the Houston Roughnecks. I think they've really impressed me. The team I'm going to be supporting, of course, will be the New York Guardians, because they represent New York. So I'll be rooting for the guy, and of course there's a Giant connection there as well, and they also play at the MetLife Stadium. So the Guardians have a chance to win the championship game. But there has been some good games this week. I just hope that we'll get more of the same, probably even better next week, when the round 2 games comes up this upcoming weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate viewing the video. Let me know what you think of the XFL. What are your opinions of the XFL? Do you think it will last more than 2-3 years? Do you think it's got a future down the line? Do you think it won't even last more than this season? Let me know in the comment section below. Comment, like and subscribe, and shall see you on the next one.